Hello and welcome to another episode of Second Wind, the show that gives you a second bite of last-gen gaming. Now on this Christmas episode of Second Wind, what we really wanted to do was to do something festive. But unfortunately, there aren't really any good Christmas games worth speaking about. So what we did is we went through our PlayStation 2 collection and we tried to find the most wintry themed game that we could find. What we did find was an absolute masterpiece. Now this game has excellent graphics, fantastic music, great controls, and was an all-round smash when it came out, even though it came out of a very niche, extreme sports market. Now this is a game really that wasn't even supposed to be that big a deal, but everybody who played it fell in love with SSX Tricky. Whilst not exactly a full sequel to 2000's SSX, Tricky was more of an update, more of an expansion. It added new courses, new riders, new boards, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it built on everything in the first game, and it built on it brilliantly. The core of the SSX experience is in the world circuit. Choose from a roster of larger-than-life characters and compete against 6 other boarders across a series of challenges. The circuit is a series of courses, each of increasing absurdity, in which your rider must outrun or out-trick their opponents. Earning medals on each course unlocks new boards, new riders, new courses, and you even get experience points depending on how well you do, which you can then use to upgrade your rider, which was the style at the time. Race is my preferred mode, where trimming seconds and discovering shortcuts is the name of the game, whereas my main man Rife, he's a fan of the show-off mode. He is the ostentatious type after all. The crux of the gameplay lies in the trick system. The game is called Tricky, yeah, so you'd expect there to be an onus on tricks. A bewildering number of combinations of the shoulder buttons and D-pad allow you to pull off the big grabs, grinds and flips that fill that boost bar on the right there. Players can use that boost to propel themselves downhill faster and obviously up ramps quicker. Filling the bar up all the way activates Tricky mode, which allows the player to pull off the ridiculous uber tricks that the game is now famous for. If you want to see a guy breakdancing on the top of a snowboard, then this is the game for you. These outrageous uber moves and the enormous air is what makes this game the exciting, exhilarating rush that we love it for. Seeing that ramp coming up and judging whether or not you can get a super move out of it is all part of the experience, especially when it turns out that you're dead wrong. The other thing that we fondly remember this game for is being one of the best looking games on the system. SSX was already a beast, but Tricky pulled out all the stops and built on that. Considering what's at stake here, Tricky's presentation is still sleek and tidy, despite showing its age a little bit. There's no pop-up, there's minimal fogging, and the lighting and particles rival modern-day equivalents, and that character animation is rock solid. Animation is one thing I tend to focus on here on Second Wind. Performance capture has done away with the art of keyframe animation, and that is really a shame. The artisanship in SSX Tricky is really obvious, and in hindsight it seems like it's a bit of a shame to be wasted on a little ginger man falling down a hill. You can't talk about SSX Tricky without talking about the music. Every track is expertly selected and it reflects the run, the location and the presentation of the level. Each track is mixed expertly by the great Mixmaster Mike and reacts impressively to the action on screen. The game gets its title from the Run DMC song, and that audio motif is used throughout the game to full effect. Filling that special meter puts your character into Tricky mode, and this triggers a loop of "It's Tricky" for about 20 seconds. Now when I first got this game, I just started going out with a girl, and she would come over and hang out and I would play SSX Tricky while she was just hanging out drawing and whatnot. And at first, she was like, "Oh, I love this song." And then after 2 or 3 weeks of hearing it over and over and over and over, she grew to hate it. Over 10 years later, I'm pretty confident that she still hates that song. Sorry, Joni. On the subject of audio, I think it's pertinent to mention the unbelievable voice cast. Nowadays, it's commonplace to see Liam Neeson, Gary Oldman, Martin Sheen in video games. But in 2001, the idea of getting Lucy Liu, Macy Gray, Oliver Platt, David Arquette and the celestial Billy Zane all together in one video game, people would have told you you're a madman. How EA did it, I wouldn't like to guess, but the fact that they did adds weight to the argument that this game rules. It comes as no surprise that SSX Tricky was heralded in its day as the best snowboarding game there had ever been. SSX3 did build on it, but the series hasn't really come that far. In fact, the newest SSX game recently made it into our top 5 of the most disappointing games of this generation. SSX has failed to live up to the pedigree of Tricky and the sequel, SSX3. For the character, charm and challenge, you really can't go wrong with Tricky. Now, to play this game now, you will actually need to go and get a PS2 and a copy of the game and all of that. It isn't available on any downloads or anything. But for the cost of buying a PS2 and the price of this game, it's definitely worth it. And while you're there is a whole bunch of other games we're going to be covering on Second Wind that you can get if you do it. As usual, if you like the video, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us a share. I will be here again in about another month telling you about one of the greatest games from last generation and a bit that you should be playing right now. Until then, goodbye. Do your dance, do your dance, do your dance quick now.